and welcome to the West Tigers podcast. This is episode number 312, midweek show with Eddie and Declan. Declan, I suppose it's not midweek anymore. It's Friday, but obviously Gary and Steve did their podcast with Gary Barney on Wednesday, so we've been pushed to Friday.
Yeah, we've been bumped from the prime slot on Wednesday, but yeah, it's good to be here. Hope everyone's having a good Easter weekend.
Yeah, I think Gary is away camping. Steve was going to be available, Declan, but this podcast apparently got in the way of his dinner plans, so it's unfortunate he can't be on. And Joel, I think he's still under the couch after news that Peter V'landys might buy Leichhardt Oval. I don't think he's too happy about that.
Oh, really? He's not chuffed with that idea, is he? That would be wild, wouldn't it? If they bought Leichhardt Oval.
Well, we're going to talk Leichhardt Oval, and mainly we're going to preview the Parramatta game. It's going to be a pretty brief podcast, but would you put it past Peter V'landys, Declan? I wouldn't. I honestly think he's just a ruthless man. He might think, okay, this is a short-term loss for a long-term gain. He has been one of the rare administrators to sort of propel and back suburban ground, so I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely bold, isn't he? I mean, I don't really see the business case for the NRL to do that, but I don't claim to be an expert in that field, so I'm not going to say that it's a good or bad idea. But it would definitely be great if through private ownership, that's how they manage to get the funds. Whether that happens or not, who knows? Because it just seems like there's been, as always as with Leichhardt, lots of posturing, lots of headlines, but then when it actually comes to the nitty gritty, nothing really ever seems to move along, does it?
We will spend 10 minutes on it in the middle of this podcast, and I'll ask towards the end, Declan, for your one word for the game against Parramatta, if you haven't thought of it yet. But just briefly on last week, I think I was the only one that didn't get to come on and celebrate after that 32-6 win over the Sharks. Was it more good Tigers or bad Sharks on Saturday night?
During the game, I thought that we really did a good job of gassing their middles. I wasn't aware that they only had one player on the bench. I think after the game I found out. So I think that we were just really disciplined though, and we didn't give them an opportunity to come back into the game with some easy penalties or lazy six again. And for that reason, I think although they were bad, like Nico Hines said, have a bad game, I think we did a lot to make it even tougher for them, and we didn't really give them an easy out. So bit of both. We'll probably find out more against the Eels if the Sharks were terrible, if we were just awesome. So, yeah, I think we'll find out very soon.
Two questions, both sides of the coin. What do you think will be the easiest thing to build on from Saturday night's performance, and what will potentially be the hardest? Let's start on the positive side. What do you think this side can build on from Saturday night?
I thought the effort areas were really, really good. I mean, if you look at who was it that scored the Buller try, where him and Galvin were just chasing that kick, both of them were in the frame. And I think just little stuff like that, I think should be replicated every week, chasing on a kick. And it was if they didn't do that, then, we probably wouldn't have even gotten close to the try line, and obviously performances like that from Appy, they're not going to come every week, because that was maybe the best performance from a 9 that I've seen in a very long time. But yeah, I think just the little things like kick chase, not giving away easy penalties, letting the Sharks back into the game that way. I think stuff like that is something that we should be able to replicate every week.
Hardest thing to build on, because we've seen these false dawns at Leichhardt in the past, not only last year with that 66-18 win over the Cowboys. I know we had a couple of injuries, but there's been previous years where we've had these one-off performances at Leichhardt where you just think, okay, the team's just about to click into gear. So what do you worry most heading into the next couple of games?
I think I'm worried that when we play a forward pack that's on song, like the Eels might be, that we might not have as much front foot ball, because we've really been done a good job of playing through teams against the Sharks in that 20 minutes against the Raiders, where we're managed to kind of go through them as opposed to around them. So I'm a little bit worried that if we play, a top forward pack, then it might be a bit difficult for us, because we're not going to have the quick play the balls, that ruck speed, and all that space.
I think it's good. They've got the whole club gets a chance to almost breathe. You know what I mean? It's sort of we started probably 3 or 4 last 4 seasons, and we've been 0-3 and 0-5, and it's just a tale of woe. But it's a fine line. You don't want the players being complacent, But I just think it gives this coaching staff, who was, under pressure before a ball was kicked, whether that was fair or not, and the players, the confidence they'll get from that, just that one win, it means the next 2 or 3 weeks, they're not necessarily going to get absolutely hammered in the press if they lose, but you still want to see that same sort of level of motivation and intensity and aggression that they brought to the game on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, we all know what it's like, don't we? Like, 2 losses turns into 4 losses, and 4 losses turns into 7 losses, and then it's just like a big mountain to climb. I think getting that win early in the season would just do like wonders, just get the monkey off the back, and against a good team as well. Because although the Bulldogs won last week, it was against the Titans. It wasn't against the top 8 team. So I think there's no reason why they shouldn't have like tons of confidence, and then combine that with the fact that Mitchell Moses, their best player, isn't playing. Like they surely would have a lot of belief within the group for Monday.
It was big. I thought it was a big night for Benji. I know it was only his second game, and I'm not. I've been quite quizzical. You could say critical, but I'll use the word quizzical about the appointment of Benji on a long-term deal and the fact that he didn't have no coaching experience. But I just thought it was a really big night for him because some of his big decisions came off. Olam, I know it's only one game, but his first game for the club was fantastic. Aiden Caesar, another signing that was, I suppose, debated among the fan base, whether we should have gone for a younger half. He was fantastic. Obviously, his selection of Lachlan Galvin at number 6, I think, has proved a masterstroke the first couple of games. He certainly doesn't look overawed. So did you think it was as big a night for him as I did?
Yeah, definitely, because, like, I can't lie. When he was hired, it was like a great like PR thing because like greatest player coming back to coach, like to help us rebuild, kind of like Kevin Walters at the Broncos. But at the back of everyone's mind, like he didn't really have a track record of coaching. So like, do we know if he actually can coach? So that's been in the back of everyone's mind, I think, for a while now. So just to see everything kind of come together and like a really good game plan, everyone played well, the attack looked good, the defense looked better. And I saw a lot of improvement from players from last season. And then also, as you said, like someone like Galvin, who Benji's given, the reins to make mistakes. And he's really rewarded him, hasn't he, in the last 2 weeks because he's really played well. So I think that's just a credit to Benji to give, a young player like that the confidence to go out there and execute.
He played golf, Declan, that morning. I'm sure that would have been a massive story if the Tigers got rolled by Cronulla, but I have a couple of mates that play at Strathfield. He actually plays at Concord, which is sort of just up the road, but he played 18 holes, apparently, shot 4 over. You could see the press having a field day if we came out and lost with stories like that. Like I said, I don't have a problem with stuff like that because I'm sure anyone on game day, you got 10 hours before the game, has to either spend some time with the family or have a little bit of an outlet, and golf seems to be Benji.
Yeah, and like all the hard work should have already been done by then. Like, what's he going to achieve on a Saturday morning before the game that's going to, give us the win? Like, all the hard work should have been done in terms of preparation. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with it, but it's like what we said before. They've kind of like planted this story, and no matter what happens, if we lose, that they're just going to build on that, aren't they? And if we win, he's going to look like a genius. But really, I think that, as you said, I think it's just an outlet that lots of people have, and it's good that it paid off. But I agree with you. If we lost, it would have been a huge story.
I think his approach, and he'll obviously learn and change his approach. But I think that Wayne Bennett approach of having a happy camp and being able to motivate players. And I didn't want to give him too much credit, obviously, before I've seen something on the field, but it's been, I think, interesting since he almost took over from Sheens in the back half of last year. For a team that has been cast adrift at the bottom of the table, you haven't heard really about any unhappy players or ructions or tension in the group, and I think that's something he's maybe banking on as much as X's and O's. If I can keep players happy and motivated, I might be able to get the best out of them.
Yeah, even last year when we were in that big losing streak, like you didn't really hear any noise from the playing group about.
Like for instance, there was. I mean, I think the Bulldogs were second last, and the Dragons were third last, and there was all sorts of talk about, players weren't happy with Serraldo and Zach Lomax is off the coach at the Dragons, but you never really heard that around the Tigers so much. There was all sorts of issues, in terms of management changes and stuff like that. But the playing group itself, has seemed happy for a while. I just didn't want to give it credit till I saw something like I did Saturday night, which was an 80-minute performance.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. They do look like a settled playing group. I think the only one you would say would maybe be Nofaluma, but he was obviously on the way out anyway, so it's not like you can read too much into that. I think that would probably happen at any club. The player is being like shown the door, and they have a few words to say on the way out. But yeah, I agree. I think Steve did a good job of highlighting although we were like on the outside looking in, when you look at stuff like post game, you could see that everyone was hanging on every word of Benji, and I think that stuff's quite important. And yeah, that man management aspect, as someone who's like quite similar in age to a lot of these guys, I think it's something that I would respond to more. I know we talk about Michael Maguire all the time, but I saw on social media a few clips from Tales from Tiger Town, and just like how he would address the playing group after like a loss or a win. And yeah, I just think that I know that I would respond to Benji more. I know it's easy to say right now because we just came off a win, but yeah, just my honest take from it.
Interesting. Every time they pan to the box, Robbie Farah's sort of typical Robbie. He seemed to be getting quite into the game, and even John Morris was vocal. But Benji looking very calm, almost serene up in the box. Even at Canberra last week when they were getting flogged, there was not a whole lot of emotion, which brings you back to that, Wayne Bennett. That's sort of that's his mentor, and that's how Wayne behaves in the box. He's just very, very poker face throughout.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's good to have a little bit of both. I think just to like be in the moment and in the game, but then also have like the awareness to kind of put yourself back and see it as a long-term thing. We've got 25 rounds and then hopefully finals if Steve's plan goes to everything goes right. So yeah, I agree. I think I like Benji's demeanor, but I also like after the game, like he gave the playing group just enough to like, oh, let's celebrate this because this is a big deal because we've got the monkey off the back, but at the same time, we still have a big job against the Eels. So he kind of like said like, oh, you guys should be really happy, but big job next time. So pull it in, rein it in, and get ready to go again at training.
Saved a bit of that emotion for the Sheds, didn't he? I saw him belting out the song. He was almost leading it. I'm not sure did he put it together? Apparently it's half the Magpies and half the Tigers song. It seemed a little bit clunky, but I suppose that's how it is when you're reading off a sheet for the first time.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, that it was half both foundation clubs, and I think the coaching staff put it together. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's funny. I think they said they rehearsed it in New Zealand, but you wouldn't be able to tell, would you, that they rehearsed it, or they would have forgotten anyway because yeah, they're all reading from the sheet. So hopefully next time it's more cinematic if they just like don't need a sheet to read it from, and it looks cooler.
Leichhardt Oval, Declan, it's been the Tigers must get a lot of clicks with all these journalists these days because it's been in the headlines every single day this week. It started pretty much with the Shane Richardson podcast on James Graham's show last Sunday night, where he flagged a lot of concerns around Leichhardt Oval and, for clubs trying to play at suburban grounds, and the fact that he feels that all the big clubs and successful clubs are at modern stadia. It then went on to a press conference with Darcy Byrne and Shane Richardson, where they were looking for perhaps 10% of the funding that's been allocated to the new Penrith Stadium. Chris Minns, the New South Wales Premier, he shot that down pretty quick. But then, Peter V'landys later in the week said, well, we might be interested in buying Leichhardt Oval. Like you said, there's been a lot of posturing. I don't really know what the main play is here, whether it's just to try and squeeze some money out. But, looking at Shane Richardson, I tend to take him on his word that he's had these tough decisions to make in the past at South Sydney in particular. And I think it could be ominous for Leichhardt Oval. I'm a Leichhardt Oval lover, but I'm also don't have half the understanding of exactly how much money they lose and etc. So what did you make of the whole week? What do you think the end play is here for Shane Richardson?
I think the end play for Shane Richardson is to move us to a bigger stadium. It doesn't seem like he's got a lot of time for like Campbelltown either, because we always thought, like based on the past management, that it'd be Leichhardt or Campbelltown or like both, but most likely Campbelltown. But now, like listening to the buy round, it didn't seem like he was too keen on that either. So I think he's probably angling towards a move to a stadium, probably at Olympic Park, if I was to guess. I can hear Gary like wincing right now as he's camping. But yeah, I think if I was to put money on it, I think that's where I would say. But it's just interesting, isn't it? Because this is like the real pitfalls of a club like the Tigers when he's trying to make all these like big tough decisions, but then there's all these different factions who all have their say and all don't like it for different reasons. And at the end of the day, it's just really hard to get something done. But I think someone like Richardson, he's really happy to play the villain, and I think this won't really affect him as long as he's in the job. But yeah, I think if I was to put money on it, I think that return to Acor, is it Acor Stadium they're calling it now?
That's
Ever
what
since
they
it's
call
changed
it.
to ANZ.
I found it like as a fan, I've been going to Leichhardt for 20 years, so I know what to expect. So I know, you should go to the toilet before you go to the game. And then if you want to have a few beers, you should probably get 3 at once, because if you go back 15 minutes into the game, you'll be lining up for 40 minutes. But, even on, I don't know if you were there Saturday night, Declan, but even the beer stands were less than usual or smaller than usual. So I don't know if this is a sneaky, deliberate ploy by Shane Richardson to make it look worse than usual, but they were even longer than usual, those beer queues on Saturday night.
Yeah, I was there. I don't really drink a lot when I go out to watch the footy because usually I drive. But yeah, like you could see, I was getting to the ground and I actually had to go to the bathroom, and I just saw the line. I was like, oh my God. But then I found out, yeah, it was the line to get beers. It wasn't the line to go to the bathroom. I was like, thank God. But yeah, like the facilities are just, they are what they are. I think everyone knows what to expect, like when they go to Leichhardt Oval. And but that's just the frustrating part. Like we always talk about, like we want to play all our games there, but then just nothing gets done in terms of funding or like upgrading the facilities or any sort of help. And like for me at the moment, it's just like, well, like everyone agrees that Leichhardt's great. Like we agree on the what, but there's no agreement or like kind of discussion, or there needs to be more discussion on the how, and the how in terms of funding, how they're actually going to upgrade it so that it can be somewhere that can hold like 30,000 West Tigers members. I think that's probably more important than just saying like, oh, like, Blocker Roach and Benny Live saying on NR 360, like, oh, of course they have to play there. I mean, it needs upgrades, but of course they have to play there. But how are we going to, make it so that we can play games there?
I listened to Phil Gould, and he's in a very similar position to Shane Richardson, sort of, I don't know if it's the exact same title, but he's fronting up the Bulldogs. And he said it's literally, they love Belmore, Canterbury, but he said it's just not feasible to play games there. So, like, I'm like any fan. I say, oh, well, we have to play it Leichhardt. But if guys in positions of power and positions of knowing what goes on and what the club makes, I think, I think the writing's probably on the wall unless there is some sort of upgrade. I don't know if moving back to Homebush would be entirely popular, but I don't, like you said, I don't think Shane Richardson cares about being popular.
No. And then, so in terms of big stadiums, so there's like 3 choices. So there's Parramatta Stadium, and that's just an awkward one because they've got the Parramatta Leagues Club there, and so it never really felt like our home ground. And then you've got the new Allianz Stadium, which I actually really like. I'm not sure if you've seen a game there, but it's really like top class facility.
I was actually there Thursday night. We've got a couple of free members passes to go out to watch the Roosters in Penrith, and I don't know what the crowd was off the top of my head, but it is an impressive stadium. It is. There's not any bad seats in that. It's probably a little bit too big for club football, but you don't get that impression like you do when you're at ANZ, where it's just like a really poor atmosphere and looks empty. It didn't feel that way. They sort of put on a good show there.
Yeah, and I think from memory, I remember in like 2009, 2010, we actually did take a few games to the old Allianz, and it seemed to like attract a decent amount of numbers. But then you've also got like the big Roosters slab on Allianz now, so that's kind of runs into like Parramatta territory, and also like it's just in the heart bang of Sydney, so you kind of look like you risk losing that southwest, don't you? Because it's probably another like indication to them that the club's not that keen on like playing grounds close to there. But so that kind of just leaves a core, doesn't it, by like elimination. But I do agree with you, like the big empty stadium, like we've all been to those games where they've just gone over 12,000 and it looks empty. Like you could have a row to everyone could have a row to themselves, and but not ideal. But as like what you said, if someone's going to pay the club a lot of money to play there, and then we can grow into like a 30,000 member club, which should be the plan, then it seems like that's the way forward.
Yeah, I think so. It'd be very, very interesting because I mean, there are. I don't go to grounds like Shark Park and Belmore and Cogra. I know Brookvale's received upgrades, but I'm sure there are grounds that are similar aspects as bad as Leichhardt. But it was interesting how he spoke about Campbelltown, Declan, because he's been a big proponent of the Southwest, but he did sort of differentiate. He said, even though we're putting some offices in Campbelltown and we want to put an academy there and have a big presence there in the community, he said that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to play our games there.
Yeah, because that really surprised me because I thought from all the gesturing that Southwest was future, and that
Mm.
included playing games at Campbelltown. But I just wonder how much of an impact can you really have on a community when you don't play games there? Because yes, you can do all the community stuff and then go to the schools and then have offices there. But if you look at Penrith, like everyone loves the Penrith Panthers because they play there on a Thursday or a Friday night. They win games. They're local superstars because they play there. Like if they played at Allianz, would the Penrith community care as much? Probably not. So I don't understand how you can say we're going to have a massive impact in the Southwest, but then not play the majority of the games there because that's where the impact comes from.
The one thing that is clear, if he does do a long term deal at home, well, some in the media say they already reckon there's some sort of deal in place. I don't know. He's obviously got good relations there from his time at South Sydney, but you'd have to think at least, even if it's not a popular call, that he's in for the long haul, Declan. He couldn't make a decision like that and then 6 months later say, well, I'm out of here.
I mean, yeah, I think Barry O'Farrell, the interim chairman, said they've had discussions about him staying on long term. He said that I think for his legacy, fixing up the Tigers would be a good achievement to kind of finish off things. So he said that publicly, and yeah, I don't think it'd be a very good idea to make these long term decisions if he wasn't keen on staying long term. But I don't know, maybe the board changes the Nolan Bards group that might scare him off. I'm not sure, but yeah, hopefully he's there long term because as you said, I think he's the kind of person that we need because he's not afraid to make the tough decisions. But it just seemed like administrations in the past kind of just pandered a little bit. Like I always felt that with Justin Pascoe and Lee, they just went to the Leichhardt and Campbelltown thing because they wanted to pander to fans, not necessarily because it was the strongest strategic decision to make. And yes, we all love it, but I felt that it was kind of just like them trying to get some PR because they're just getting slammed. But someone like Richardson, he's not afraid to be the villain. I think sometimes you need that in a leader.
I just want to be a winning football team, and I will accept whatever Shane Richardson does if he thinks it's in the best interest of the West Tigers winning football games long term. I don't like when he comes out and sort of says, commercially it's in our best interest, but he does qualify that by saying, we need to grow our membership, we need to grow a football club. I just worry that nights like Saturday night, not just forget about Leichhardt, but the actual the performance, could that be replicated at Homebush? I suppose his argument is, all the big teams, Melbourne Storm, Sydney Roosters, Penrith are getting new stadium, Parramatta, they all seem to play out at these bigger stadiums and they don't tend to have an issue. And it's not like Leichhardt, even though we were great the last couple of games there, it's not like it's been a fortress the last decade.
No, and I've seen the Tigers punch teams in the face at ANZ. Remember we won against the Roosters in 2018? That was at ANZ, and we went to the Panthers one year as well at ANZ just before they became a dynasty, obviously. But yeah, obviously Leichhardt helped, but I don't think it was the only factor as to why we were good. That I'm not. You might disagree, but I think it was definitely a big part. But I think that as long as they built any sort of home ground advantage in terms of getting a lot of fans there, I think that could be replicated at a bigger stadium. Because you look at the Parramatta Eels when they moved to the new Parramatta Stadium, and we played them when we got thumped. And you could hear the crowd, and it must be tough for players to play against when you've got 30,000 screaming fans in the opposition.
Well, let's preview this game against Parramatta, Declan. Let's start on stadiums. I've got a surprising take. I don't know if you'll agree with it or not, but I sort of think this Easter Monday game should be played at ANZ every year because it's one of the very few occasions where a club football game could attract up to 50,000 fans like it did in 2014. And I've got no doubt this week, if the Easter show is going on and you've got a nice sunny Monday afternoon, you'd probably get 40,000 out at ANZ Stadium. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have an issue with it. I can see why Parramatta would have an issue with it, but from a Tigers perspective, yeah, I think that was it 2014 that they had
Yeah.
that big Easter Monday crowd, yeah, and that was amazing, and we got the win as well, which obviously made it much better. But yeah, like you don't really see club games spark that much interest in terms of like getting those kind of numbers. So I'd support that if they played at ANZ every year.
Well, not happening this Monday, Declan. They've been a real bogey side for us. I know most sides are bogey sides for us, but I don't know if it's their style of football. I know they've been a pretty good side the last 4 or 5 years, but what is it about Parramatta they struggle with? I know that this year so far they lead the competition in offloads. They've got a pretty dynamic team across the park.
Yeah, I think it's just those big forwards that, for so many years, I think if you just played a straight and direct game against the Tigers, you're going to find a lot of joy. And I think Mitchell Moses playing also added a certain amount of emotion to the game as well, which made the games a little bit more intense because of the way he left. This is kind of like not recent history, but like when he first came to Parramatta, I definitely thought that like that brought a lot more kind of intensity to the games. But then obviously like Regan Campbell-Gillard, Junior Paulo, these massive forwards, and then like the big Parramatta crowds as well. It's just been really tough to win. And saying that though, I think last year and the year before, we did lose to them, but I thought the games were a lot closer. And we even beat them on Easter Monday when Jackson Hastings slotted that field goal. So I know that I think we've only won once in the last 10 times. I do think that in more recent history, we have had a little bit more success against them.
Yeah, I mean,
and then
there was the opening of the stadium. I think that was 2019 where we did get blown out on Easter Monday. But other than that, we've caused the odd upset, like you said, in 2022. Last year was at ANZ, went down 28-22, but it's a huge loss for them, Mitchell Moses being out. Like I think nominally he's worth 10 to 12 points for that side. I don't know if that's too high a rating, but they don't have anywhere near a replacement like him. I know Dylan Brown's a good footballer, but putting him into halfback and a rookie into 5'8", Mitchell Moses, even if his running game's not on, he's so good with his long kicking game that I give us a real chance this week now that he's out.
Yeah, and Dylan Brown, as you said, he's not that kind of floor general who just like is dominant and just tells everyone where to go. He's the kind of guy that can pull a rabbit out of a hat a few times a game, but he's never really had to lead a team and be consistent. And then Blaise Tuilagi is a very similar player to Dylan Brown. Like they're both kind of ball runners and they kind of play off the cuff. So you've kind of got two similar people in terms of what they bring. So I think there's definitely scope for us to go out there and disrupt them. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think it just, as you kind of pointed to, I think it comes down to us controlling their offloads, because if we can control their offloads, we can stop Junior Paulo when he comes off the bench, then I think we can also shut down their attack. But if they just come out and kind of run over the top of us, it's going to be tough.
Well, that was the challenge I think we put out to our senior players last week, particularly in that forward pack, Declan. They were a lot better, but they're going to have to go to another level. The likes of Stefano was really strong last week. Clemmel was better. I thought Ice and Bateman were both better, but this is a step up from the Sharks to Parramatta forward pack.
Yeah, 100%. I think we could definitely match the Eels for the starting pack, but I just think when Junior Paulo comes on from the bench and we've got Alex Hayfarth and Samuel Fagnu, I could see them having a lot of joy in that area. So like maybe they would like put Stefano on the bench, as you kind of have alluded to, just to have that like set for set kind of attitude. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm optimistic though, going into this game. And then Bryce Cartwright might also not play as well. We're not too sure. So they've got some injury clouds going into this game.
Okay, prediction time. I didn't ask for your one word. I don't know if you had one. My word for this week, Declan, was just alive. I feel alive. For the first time in years, I feel like we're playing a semi-big game. I know it's crazy because there's only 2 games played, but when you lose your opening 3, 5, 7 games every year, it just takes all the wind out of your sails. Even if you do have a win, like when we did beat Parramatta on Easter Monday, I think we were 0-5. So it was like, oh, great, we're 1-5. But if we win this game, we're 2-1, and we're going to be in, fourth or fifth spot. So do you have a word similar to that?
Yeah, I think my word is quite similar. I think it's hopeful. I'm just hopeful that, finally, like, it's not just a one-off performance where, we just put a good performance in and then we like go back to another losing streak. So I'm hopeful that this could be the turnaround, and I'm hopeful that the team can take the confidence that they got from the Sharks and then apply it to the game, and then we can get some consistency throughout the entire season as opposed to just kind of a roller coaster of form.
Okay. I'm going to go for I think it's going to be Golden Point, which fills me with dread, Declan, because our record in Golden Point is terrible. But I think without Mitchell Moses, I'm going to predict a victory. I'm going to go 21-20 West Tigers.
Oh, I'm gonna take the Tigers as well, but I don't think it'll be Golden Point. I think that it will be 24 points to 16.
Okay, we're both tipping a win. That's very, very concerning. But anyway, it's quiz time, Declan. Let's finish with the quiz. Yachty's quiz. Question 1. Which bench player, this is probably before you were alive, 2009. Well, you were alive, but you probably weren't, fully active watching the game. Which bench player scored a try? It's multiple choice, so you got a chance. In the so-called Benji Marshall, Jared Hayne showdown, round 24, 2009, was it A, Danny Galea, B, John Morris, C, Corey Payne, or D, John Skandalis?
John Morris.
It was John Morris. Why do you say that?
Well, Corey Payne didn't play for us at that time, and then John Skandalis, I don't remember him playing that game. Who was the other guy?
Another guy was Danny Galea. He might have been.
Yeah, I don't remember him playing at that time either. So just process of elimination.
John Morris scored it on the wing whilst filling in for Bo Ryan, who was temporarily injured in that game. I'll tell you who wasn't temporarily injured in that game. It was Taniela Tuiaki, which was an absolute, really sad story because he was his career was cut short by a broken leg in that game. Question 2, true or false? As of last season, we've played Parramatta most out of any other club.
I'm gonna go false.
It's actually true. I was going to say there's no finals games in there. I don't ever remember playing Parramatta in the 3 final series we made, but it's true. We've played 46 games against Parramatta. Probably means just the luck of the draw. We play them twice each year, or maybe the NRL deliberately schedules 2 games each year because it's Western Sydney rivals. But 16 wins, 29 losses, and a draw. Question 3, and I think we hinted at this one early. To the nearest 1,000, what was the crowd for the first Easter Monday game between Parramatta and the West Tigers in 2014?
Was it like 50,000?
Yep, 50,668 is the exact crowd. Question 4, name 6 West Tigers players who played for the joint venture, then went on to join Parramatta. Can you think of any? There's one recently, probably in the 17 this week.
So Mitchell Moses, Kelma Tuolagi, Jake Mullaney. He didn't play first grade for us, that count, but he went and played it.
Didn't play first grade. I think you've caught Yachty out here because I think you're right. Kelma Tuolagi, I suppose he went via Manly, so maybe he's not including him. But you're definitely right, Mitchell Moses. There's another guy in the Parramatta 17 this week that played for
Joffa, yeah.
Joffa. And there's probably another one as well who played for the West Tigers who's not very popular. Outside of Mitchell Moses. Ryan Madison.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Back in the day, Ben Duckworth, Corey Pearson, and the Roosters coach. That's an interesting footnote. The Roosters coach, Trent Robinson, played for the West Tigers.
Did he play for Balmain?
He played a game for the West Tigers. I was there. It was either in 2000 or 2001. He might have played reserve grade at Balmain and then went to Parramatta. Let's finish with the Who Am I? I was born somewhere up north in 1991. That's exactly what it says. I don't know what north is North Australia or North Pole. What's he talking about here? Debuted in Australia's centenary year of rugby league, 2008. I played 17 games for my local club over 6 seasons. I joined the Super League and played for 2 clubs. I returned to the NRL with the West Tigers on a 2-year deal. I played 22 games in my first season and was awarded man of the match in one game. Played one game the following season and was released again to an overseas club. In mid-2020, I returned to the NRL with the Parramatta Eels. No clues, Declan? It's a pretty hard one. I'll give you a clue at the end, which will probably give it away. In 2022, I became a captain coach. And again, in 2023, I won the SG Ball Cup, I assume, as a coach. As of 2024, I'm the full-time SG Ball coach. I think he was the youngest player ever to debut in the NRL.
Oh, was it Jordan Rankin?
Jordan Rankin, who...
I thought he was Cup coach. I thought he was New South Wales Cup coach.
Okay, well, you'll have to debate that with Yachty. He's got SG Ball coach 2024. I mean, who can forget, Declan, the great Jason Taylor deciding that, let's play Jordan Rankin instead of Josh Addo-Carr. I mean, what a genius that bloke was.
Yeah, that was he definitely tried to outthink the room there, didn't he?
He did, and he got it wrong, as he did most decisions at his time at the West Tigers. All right, Declan, thank you for your time tonight. Let's hope we won't be doing a pod on Sunday night, but let's hope it's a full house on Monday night after a big win over the Eels.
Yeah, let's hope we can keep this optimism going because, I think I remember being accused of being a little bit too optimistic and trying to paint sunshine and rainbows, but yeah, let's hopefully that can continue.
All sunshine and rainbows, but things can change very quickly. Thank you, Declan. See you next week.
Yeah.